our scholars differentiated between simple ignorance and between compounded ignorance. Al-jahl al-murakkab wal-jahl al-basit. Jahl al-basit is the ignorance that somebody who knows they're ignorant has. And this, Dr. Naqib al-Attas calls it innocent ignorance. It's something that can be remedied. But compounded ignorance is an ignorance where somebody is ignorant and they're also ignorant of their ignorance. And this is a much deeper problem. And so one of the great tragedies of modern human beings, we have a cult film in the United States which is called The Wizard of Oz, which every American child has to see year after year until they're fully indoctrinated into the worldview of the Wizard of Oz. But one of the things about the Wizard of Oz is there's a scarecrow who's looking for a brain. And he says, if I only had a brain with the thoughts I'd be thinking, I could be another Lincoln if I only had a brain. So he's looking for a brain. Well, he never finds the brain, but at the end the wizard gives him a piece of paper. And he says, in my country back home in Kansas, when somebody doesn't have a brain, we confer upon him a diploma. And this is very often what happens in our universities. Brainless people are given pieces of paper to convince them that they have a brain. But the reality of it is, they're actually more ignorant coming out of the university than they were going in. Because when they went into the university, they had innocent ignorance. But by the time they come out of the university, they have this compounded ignorance. And this is to me, one of the great crimes of the modern educational institutions. That people are deprived of a true education. They're given what they think is an education. Educare, to lead out of. You cannot teach people what they don't already know. That learning in our tradition is remembering. It's tadakkur. It's a recollection of something that we already know. And this is why the Quran says, وَذِكِّرْ, remind. Make them remember what they already knew. What is it that we already knew? We knew a covenant that we took in another dimension. It was a sacred covenant. And it began with, Alastu bi Rabbikum, am I not your Lord? And we replied as spirits, we replied in the affirmative, Bala shahidna. Indeed, you are our Lord, and we witness to this. We're brought into this world, and the world is a place of remembrance. It is to remember a previous existence. It is to recollect, to recall. This is why we call dhikrullah, because we're remembering what we already knew. You cannot remember something that you did not know previously. And this is the highest form of knowledge in our tradition. It is to know your Lord. فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. This is not being taught in the modern institutions of learning. They have completely removed God from academia. They have removed God from the social sciences, they have removed God from the physical sciences, and they have certainly removed God from the ethical traditions that are taught today and inevitably lead for anybody that has an intellect to moral relativism based on how they're taught.
قد ألف بين قلوبهم وبحبل الله قد اعتصموا قسما بالله رب العالمين